First of all, thank you so much for coming to this session. Certainly, we will have different experiences, and I'm glad that you are here because obviously, every time a person speaks, they speak from their own experience and their knowledge. There are certain experiences that are based on what you have encountered in your life. So, what does one need to do to become a success? First of all, success is defined by people in different ways. Everyone defines success according to the way they see things. Before a person talks about success, it is important for them to define what success is. What is it that they mean success? Because success is relative in a sense. In other words, it depends with who is speaking and what they are speaking about. What they are speaking about is also a reflection of what is important to them at a particular point in time. What is important to people also changes over time. So it is important for people to clarify what goals they are talking about. So number one, before a person talks about success, they need to identify their goals. And their goals needs to be clear. They need to be clear to them in terms of what do they mean, but also in terms of how long is this going to take for them to reach those goals. And they must be attainable. There must be reasonable probability that they can attain those things. It's one thing to say, I want to be successful in doing this, which is unattainable, or which they know definitely that they don't have the interest or the passion or the skills. So once they have identified the goals, they need to sit down and start working. Working hard for one's own goals and ambition is very important. It's one thing to have a dream. Most people dream. Most people dream about what they want to achieve, what they want to do, where they want to be by such and such a time. But majority of people are not willing to work hard for it. So one has to sit down and identify the specific steps that they need to take to get to the top of Mount Everest, to get to achieve the objectives that they want.
Yeah, thoroughly agree. Just with that thing that really resonated with me, what you said about hard work. You can't bypass that. You know, in order to be successful in whatever field, it's going to require effort, work, discipline. Then those simple things that, like, when you're working, you start on time, you finish on time. That's the real thing that resonated in my heart was what you said about hard work is such a key for every one of us. Yeah, and as you said, also I agree with what you said about success being, for one person, it's totally different for another person. There's a clear scripture that comes to mind when it talks about hard work. It says, "Diligent hands will rule." That means hard-working hands will get the blessing. Hard-working hands will be on top rather than a slack person or someone who is not working as hard as another person.
It's one thing to set objectives and say, I want to do this, I want to do that. And it's another to know what you need to do each and every day to achieve that. What is also important is to have the discipline to do it. Discipline means doing what you ought to do when you don't feel like doing it. For you to achieve anything, you must have the discipline. Discipline involves you waking up when you are not feeling like, you walking in the rain or in the cold, you being ridiculed for your objectives or your ambition or your dream, you being taken for granted, people not recognizing you. In other words, you have to fight against opposition for you to be able to achieve your objective. Discipline is very important. It helps you to keep grounded. It helps you to keep coming back to what is it that I want to achieve? Why do I want to achieve it? If you don't have the discipline, you will always be starting something and abandoning it midway, starting something and abandoning it midway, because you will find critics in life. And there are plenty of people who are willing to criticize anyone. It's hard for people to be successful. The reason why there are few people who are successful is because there's a lot of opposition to changing, or a lot of opposition to anyone who wants to succeed. Because when you start succeeding, you become different from the rest of the people. If you don't have that discipline to be able to work against those criticisms, you will not be able to deliver it and you will not be able to achieve it. So very important that one has to have discipline. But the other thing that I wanted to also talk about is around willingness to sacrifice. Some people, there's a phrase which I heard Joe Austin saying that maybe it was in a funny, he was saying that most people want to go to heaven, but they are not willing to die to be able to get there. What is it about? It is about sacrifice. People want the good things. Or as long as anything good they are going to have doesn't have to create any sacrifice on their part. They don't want any pain. That is not consistent with success, because success conjures in our mind the thought of going against the tide, fighting against opposition, and still being able to succeed in the midst of all that opposition and a mediocre situation. It doesn't come cheap. One has to sacrifice. You need to be self-sacrificing to achieve an ambition, to achieve a goal, to distinguish yourself, because success is a process of self-distinction that is not common to everyone, that is not available, that is not easily achieved by everyone. That distinguishes one.
Nothing ever great was established without, personal sacrifice or personal loss in a sense. There was a phrase that a minister said once many years ago, and I love this phrase. It's so true. It's so true of our faith. It's so true of my own personal life, all our lives. He said this phrase. He said, "The place of sacrifice is always the place of provision." I love that. When I heard that, the place of sacrifice is always the place of provision. In my own life, I know that the place of sacrifice was the place of provision for me. As a tradesman, I started my trade many years ago. I did a sheet metalwork trade, so I did my apprenticeship. And then what I did was I knew I was called to other things. I knew I was called to build fridges and freezers anymore. I knew I was called to build people. And what did I do? I sacrificed. I actually gave not one day, but 2 whole days. I sacrificed those 2 whole days of my wages to give to serving people. And I didn't do that for a month or for 1 year. I did that all of 1996, all of 1997, and most of 1998. And in November 1998, that's when I became a minister, because of that sacrifice. So I love what you said there, Ernest. Yeah, I think a lot of young people, they don't understand that concept. In order to go forward, sometimes you need to go back, and going back is sacrificing. But if you have a good spirit, good attitude, good heart, then God will propel you forward.
What a wonderful story of self-sacrifice, Vince. I didn't know about that story. I'm sort of bewildered by how much you went to sacrifice yourself. But there it is. I think this is a very good example of what it means, because in order for you to become a different person, you ought to leave the old ways. You can't become something different by continuously doing exactly what you used to do. You got to do something which is extraordinary. It's extraordinary for someone to sacrifice their income for such a long time. But it is a distinguishing mark, because once you are able to sacrifice that, you distinguish yourself, because sacrifice distinguishes the ones who are willing. It distinguishes the dreamer from the doer, because everyone can dream. Anyone can dream. But it is the doer of their word, the doer, the person who fulfills their objective, who actually goes down to work and is willing to sacrifice rest to achieve whatever they want to achieve, who becomes successful. It doesn't come cheap. It doesn't come at no cost, or sacrifice is part of that cost. I want to go again to another point that I have. It's about continuous improvement. Continuous improvement is the process of getting to acquire knowledge and skills that you need to be able to further deliver on your goals or your ambitions, your dream. Because as you are embarking on a dream, it is important for you to hook up with people who have already been on that particular path to your dream. Because most of the things that we aspire to be or to achieve, there are some people who have already achieved it before. So we need those people to help us on our path and learn from them and listen to them and take instructions on how to do certain things better. So we compare with the way we are thinking and we get shaped. So if we are not willing to learn or to be corrected or to be taught, then we will not achieve anything, because most lone wolves, majority of them, they don't go very far. We need the ones that have already been on that path for us to achieve that path. One needs to continuously interact and engage with the people who have already been on that particular path. There are plenty of them. Most of the things that people want to be successful in, there are people who are examples. One needs to find them. Once they find them, he needs to tap on their knowledge and let that knowledge inform them. Obviously, there's room to improve. There's room to improve the way they did it, and there's also room to also pass on the knowledge to others. So success is not an individual thing. One cannot be successful alone. Nobody went to Mount Everest alone, from base station to the top alone. That is never the case. Everyone who went to the top of Mount Everest had some other people out by him or her side, helping them to carry the baggage and showing them the path. So it is important for one to learn and improve on the knowledge that they already have, but keep learning. Be receptive to being taught. Be receptive to the ideas of other people. Test ideas and build on what you have learned from others. You cannot achieve everything on your own. You need other people. It's important for you to get that knowledge, but also it's important for you to disseminate your knowledge to others. Because sometimes when you think you already know, and when you are disseminating knowledge to others, your knowledge is tested. And sometimes when your knowledge is tested and people ask you questions, you realize, no, in fact, you were not very clever. You're not doing it the better way. So it's in both learning, but also disseminating. In disseminating, you learn from people asking you questions and critiquing the way you've done it. And when you also learn from others, you will have an opportunity to critique the way they did it.
Success is not one person doing it alone. I love that we can learn from others. We have mentors, we have examples that have gone before us, like you said, and listening to people is so key. One of my favorite proverbs is it's in the NIV, where it says, Proverbs 19 verse 20, it says, listen to advice and accept instruction, and in the end you will be wise. We can't be successful alone. And I love what you said about, Edmund Hillary and his team. They got to Everest as a team. They were successful as a team. And there's no way I can be doing what I'm doing without beautiful people around me, my close personal team, which is my wife, my family, others in the church who are pastoring me. I can't do this alone. So I love that, Ernest. I love that example about, Edmund being successful on that massive Everest, and he didn't do it alone. All those heroes that were somewhat behind the scenes, they elevated the guy up, and we all need the same. Love that. We need heroes, we need models, we need mentors. They're the things that are going to help us be successful. But in order to be successful, we have to be people that listen to advice, accept instruction, and that the result of that, the fruit of that, is wisdom.
Another point that I have is the aspect of measurement. Often, if something is not measured, it's difficult to know whether one is succeeding or not. So along the way, for you to achieve success, you need to keep measuring whatever that is you are calling success, so that you know whether you are making progress or whether you are not. Because success doesn't mean anything if you are not measuring it, so that you know whether you're moving towards it or not. Often people, when they talk about success, they talk about success in either in financial terms or along the lines of one aspect of life. Success is not a single aspect. It is a holistic, it comprises of many other aspects. In other words, when you are talking about success, just be mindful that you are not only talking about financial success, or you are not only talking about family success, relationship success, or religious success, because success involves a holistic approach to life. It is success in relation to your money, in relation to your family and your friends, in relation to your health. So make sure that when you are looking at success, you measure what it is you are calling success, because there is a tendency by people to only think of success in financial terms or only in one aspect of life. What good is there for a person to be successful in financial terms and yet they have no good health? That won't be success. So when you talk about success, make sure that you think about your family, you think about your financial standing, you think about your relationship with your friends and so on and so forth, but also you think about things like health. You think about your mental health, your physical health. You also think about things like your general quality of life. How happy are you? And peace. It's no good thing for you to have financial success and good health, but you just have no peace with whatever you have. That is not success. Success is a bundle. It's not one thing. So make sure you measure what it is you are calling success, and you make sure that it covers all aspects of your life. Because if you isolate one thing alone and call it success, you run the risk of underestimating critical things that are supposed to give you joy. Because if your success does not create happiness in your life, if it's not a holistic experience, then you are not successful. Because success is a holistic experience. It's important that we keep in mind that we need all facets of life to be working well for us to be able to be successful. But we need to keep measuring these things to make sure that these things are all working well. It's not just the bank balance improving. It's not just the health improving. It's not just the family relationship improving. All aspects of life needs to be improving, and we need to keep tabs on where each and every one of those aspects that are important to us are. That's very important. When someone is successful, it's very difficult to hide because they radiate success. Even if we can't see their bank balance, but we know that they are contented with where they are. It doesn't necessarily mean that they have millions or billions. It simply means they are contented with where they are, with their relationships, with their health.
Yeah, because some people are successful in their business dealings and their family and their relationships are a mess. So I love what you say just about success being that holistic thing, that holistic perspective. Yeah, agree. So